Hey there, my name's Julie, Fei-Fan Balzer, and today I'm going to show you all the new features of the brand new updated Scan and Cut Canvas. So I'm here on the Scan and Cut Canvas website, and I'm simply going to log in. If you don't have an account, you can easily register for a free account. Now the first thing that's going to open is all of these big projects, but what I actually want to do is I want to show you a little tour of what Canvas has to offer. So you can go ahead if you click on this tab and you'll get to your projects, and that's everything that you've saved to the cloud, and you do have actually unlimited free cloud storage for all of your projects, which I think is amazing. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start a new project by clicking on the new icon, and let's go through all the fun little tools that you have. So first of all, across the top you can see all the icons, and if you hold your mouse over it for long enough, it will tell you exactly what that icon does. But as you can see, the first one is to create a new project, which you've already done. The next one is to overwrite this project. So actually there are two different ways to save here in Scan and Cut Canvas, and the first way allows you to overwrite it so that it's the same project being saved multiple times. The next way is for you to save a different draft of it, so you can actually keep your original and yet have a different draft, and I'll show you where that saving feature is in just a moment. The next icon that you can see right here is image tracing. So that's if you want to bring in a JPEG or a PNG file or anything like that. And if I click on that window, I'll show you what it looks like. And you can see here that you can choose your file, and then you have got all of your tracing options there as well. The next one that you'll see after that is SVG. So that's if you're bringing in an SVG file. And if you don't know what an SVG file is, don't worry. It's just an extension for a cutting file. It's very common, and you find them all over the internet. The next thing is you'll see this is the select tool. That's the main tool that you're going to be using when you're here in Scan and Cut Canvas. And so for instance, if we go down, here are all your patterns here. If we go down to the patterns, and let's just grab one of the basic shapes and just click on it, and it'll come right over. With the selection tool, I can go ahead and I can, for instance, resize it, as you can see me doing there, just by grabbing the corners. And then when that plus sign appears, I can simply grab it and drag it anywhere that I want. This green button allows me to rotate it freehand any amount that I want, just like that. Pretty darn easy. So the next option you can see is called the path tool. Now, I don't want to get too complicated, but just so you understand, all cutting files are made of paths, meaning from one point to another point, there's a path that connects those points. So if I choose the path tool, or by the way, if I just double click on the shape, all these little paths are going to come up. There you can see the point and then what's connecting it. And then here under the path menu, you can see that it's giving you all the options. So for instance, if you wanted to delete out one of these points, you would simply select it, and then I'd go to the one that looks like a minus sign, and boom, that's gone. If you wanted to control a point in some way, you could just click on it, okay? And then you can see that that's telling you that's a curve point. You could change it to a straight point, and suddenly that curve becomes an angle. So you have an unbelievable amount of control here, because you can even pull out a single point. You can pull out the handle on one of the points. You are the complete master of the design from start to finish. Okay, so let's get to the next tool. So the next tool here, besides, well, let's look at the same tool, which is the points tool. For 1 second, just while you look at this, I can actually drop a point, and you see how a path is being created between those points? And boom, close it up, and now I have a triangle, and you can see it's automatically reverted right here to the arrow to the select tool, okay? But what if you wanted to do something more freehand? Well, right next to it is the freehand paths tool. So with this tool, I'm going to be able to create, let's say, curves, or if I switch over to using a pen tablet, which you can see I have a pen right here and a tablet at my computer, then I can really get detailed and draw some cool things with a little more control than maybe a mouse allows you to do, okay? So once that's done, we can click over to the next tool that I see here, and this is the undo button. Then you have the redo button. Of course, there's the trash can. Now it's grayed out because I don't have anything selected, but as soon as I select something, then I can go ahead and I can trash it, and it's gone. Now, the next tool there also needs something to be selected, because as you can see, if you click on it, it just says, please select an object. This is the properties tool. So as soon as I click on an object, okay, and the properties show up right there. Now I can change the size any way that I want, okay, and now it says maintain aspect ratio. The aspect ratio means this angle and this angle. So that's the width and the length staying the same. So if I dismiss it, what it means is that I can change just one of them and not the other. But if I don't dismiss the aspect ratio, then they're going to change at the same rate all the time. So if I unclick that, what you'll be able to see is I can change one part of it, but the other part doesn't change. So my flower got longer and not wider. So the next thing is I can rotate this a certain number of degrees. So for instance, let's say you want a precise 90 degrees that you want it to rotate. You can do that here instead of using that little green dot. You can also do a fill color. You can also change the line color. So let's say I wanted this to be red so I could really see my cute little cut file. And of course you can suggest whether you want the line type to be both cutting and drawing, just cutting. And you can even choose to add a perforation. Now this is fantastic when you're creating all sorts of cards, boxes, anything that folds. You now can add a whole variety of different perf patterns in here. Okay, so that's the properties. This is the zoom, so you can of course view it small, big, whatever you would like. And if, by the way, if you want to dismiss this properties, just go ahead and click it and it goes away. So now let's take a peek at these menus right across the top here. So project, what you can see here is, again, this is going to create a new project right there. The one next to it is overwriting the project. And then this is the other saving method that I was talking about. So you can save a second copy of your project. Over here you can see that you can have there's a little thing that counts the shapes. How many shapes are you cutting? And what that's great for is, let's say you're not sure you have an errant mark on your mat. So for instance, I actually know for a fact that I accidentally made an errant mark on here. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything on here. And then I'm going to ask this to count my shapes. And it's going to take a moment. It's going to tell me that there are 5 shapes on here. Okay. And I'm looking at it and there's only really 4 that I want. 1, 2, 3. This little one hiding back here, 4, and here is the errant number 5. So that lets me know that that's hiding there, and I can take a moment and I can just delete it with a stroke of the delete key, or I could have used the trash can icon. The next thing that you'll see here under the project icon is it's the same icon you saw before. It's image tracing and it's SVG. Remember, there are so many ways to get to the exact same thing. They give you sort of a quick menu of icons out front, and then if you drill down, you get more of them. And you can, a lot of people wonder, how do you get that 12 by 24 mat? Well, you can do it right here with a simple change. You can also get your A4s, your postcards, whatever it is that you need. Under the edit menu, you can see again, we have undo, redo. Now, a lot of these are grayed out, and that's because we don't have anything selected. So if I go ahead and select a piece and go back, you'll see that some of them light up. So cut, copy, and paste, you're probably very familiar with from Word documents or anything else that you're used to doing, any kind of word processing, etc. So we're going to go ahead and you can see there's cut, here's the copy. We go ahead and that's the paste, and then there's a duplicate. So what's the difference between paste and duplicate? Well, if you just want to have a second of something, a second one of something, you just want to duplicate it. You don't have to actually go through a whole work of copying and pasting, okay? So it's just a shortcut, but it's essentially the same idea. Under the editing menu, you can see that you have select all, so that's going to select all the shapes for me. And then next to it is the trash can. We could delete everything, okay? You can edit the text, you can add text. Now this is a really cool button that I think is fun to use, which is the offset line. So let me just go ahead and select the triangle right here. We're going to go to edit. We're going to select to add that offset line. Now I can decide how large or small I want that offset line to be. So I'm going to add a little one. I can decide whether I want it to be inside or outside. I can decide, whether I want the original line to stay, whether I want to delete the extra line. So if you're looking for a way to make your lines fatter, this is it. So if I delete that inner line, okay, and the corner type can be round or bevel. Now I have a triangle, so I probably want it to be bevel, but let's say we keep it round for fun. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, and boom, look at that. I have a totally new shape because we deleted the inside line. Now, if I go back and do that again, let's take a little peek at that. We can make some changes. So we can make it, let's say we make it a different size. And let's say instead we set it to a drawing line, okay? And we're going to do, well, let's leave it round. So now what you'll see is I have 2 lines. One is a drawing line and one is a writing line. So if you wanted to add your seam allowance, this would be a great way to do it. Okay, back up to that edit menu. So this is the grouping and ungrouping functions. So let's say I want to make these shapes into a single group. Notice they have many dashed lines around them. And as soon as I hit the grouping function, it's just going to be one line. That's just one big group. And now anything I do to this group is uniform across the board. If I rotate it, it's always going to be uniform, whatever I do. Super fun. And as soon as I'm decided I'm done with that, I can just go ahead and click the ungrouping button, and now those individual lines are back. Okay, so your next choice is alignment. Now this is tools that people have been asking for a lot. If I select all of these pieces and I say edit, and I can align them left, look how everything lines up. I can align them center, I can align them right, I can align them across the top. So you can align horizontally or vertically in all sorts of different ways. It makes it super easy to get really precisely what you want, okay? Now next, there's the flip. Now that, of course, should be pretty obvious what that does, which is if you want to create a mirror image, either way, either horizontally or vertically, perfect, you can do it. Then finally, there's order. Now, things are laying on top of each other. It's a little bit easier to see if you look right here where I filled in this red shape, okay? Now, the red shape is underneath that other shape. So if I click on what looks like both of them, I'm not going to get the red shape. And sometimes that's annoying because what you want is a little small piece that's actually under something that has sort of a clear fill. So what you can do under the edit menu is you can send it to the back, and the location of whatever it is the black piece of sort of paper you see there in the layers. So if I send it all the way to the back, notice how that line disappears, and it's not because it's cut, it's because it's now behind. So now if I click in the area where the red piece and the other piece overlap, you'll see I get the red flower every single time. So that's why that ordering is really important. Finally, there are the process overlap tools, and these are the things that let you weld, that let you divide, that let you subtract, and they're lots of fun to experiment with. So you can, let's say we want to weld these two shapes, so we'll select them, we'll go up to edit, we'll go ahead and weld them, and you can see what that looks like. Oh, this has an open path in it. I didn't close this path right here that you can see, so it won't weld. So let's move this over to something that doesn't have an open. There you go. And we can go ahead right up here and we can weld that. Super duper easy, right? So you can play around with all of those and see the different things that they do. Next, under view, you have a lot of options of how you want to see it. Again, fit to matte means that the screen is gonna show the matte. If you want to fit to selection, what you have to do is actually select something, and once you do, it's gonna zoom all the way in, boom, on what you've selected. Let's say to fit to all content, that means it's not going to be the matte, it's just the things that you have on the screen. And then of course you can choose some actual numbers, 50%, 100%, etc., whatever you would like. You can also ask it to show the cutting line, show the drawing line, lots of different ways to view what you're doing and get the most out of it. Finally, there is the Premium tab, and in that tab you can see I've activated both my rhinestone and my printable sticker kits, and these are the wizards that go with those kits that allow me to generate my own rhinestone designs and my own printable sticker designs. So that's the entire top menu. The only other things you need to know about Scan and Cut Canvas are these wonderful patterns that you have here are all located right down here, and each of these arrows, if you click on it, will bring up more designs for you to use, and when you want to use them, you simply click on them and they appear right on your canvas. And then finally on the top right, you'll see your user profile, which is where you enter any activation accounts that you want. You have your projects that you can go to, and then you can simply log out. So I hope you enjoyed this grand tour of everything that Scan and Cut Canvas Online has to offer. It's a really powerful tool. I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks so much for watching. For more tips, tricks, and tutorials, be sure to visit my blog at balzerdesigns.typepad.com and of course the Scan and Cut website at scanandcut.com.